Have you ever experienced something like this? A few days after bringing a dog home, everything feels wonderful. They're cute, energetic, always following you everywhere. But a few days later, you start to notice something. You call their name, and they run in the opposite direction. You say, "Sit," and they just stare at you, almost like they're saying, "What does that mean?" At that point, many dog owners start asking themselves questions. Why is my dog so hard to control? Is my dog just stubborn? Or maybe, am I training them the wrong way? But the truth is, owning a dog isn't just about feeding them. It's not only about giving them love either. There's one important thing many people forget: teaching them how to understand us. Because dogs are actually very intelligent animals. They can learn many things. They can recognize our voices, read our body language, even understand our daily habits. But none of that happens automatically. They need guidance. And the good news is, training a dog to be obedient is not as difficult as many people imagine, even if this is your first time owning a dog. In this video, we're going to talk about 10 simple ways to train your dog to be more obedient and easier to manage. And after this, life with your dog might become a lot easier. 1. Keep training sessions short. The first mistake many people make when training a dog is making the training session too long. Some people think training should last an hour, or even longer. But the reality is, dogs have limited focus, especially puppies. After just a few minutes, their attention starts to drift. They begin looking at other things, smelling the floor, or suddenly deciding they want to play by themselves. That's why effective training is actually short but consistent. About 10 to 15 minutes is usually enough. The important thing is doing it regularly. For example, a short session in the morning, and another one in the evening. Short sessions like this are much more effective than one long session that leaves your dog exhausted. 2. Stay focused during training. Now imagine you're trying to learn something new, but the person teaching you keeps checking their phone, sometimes talking to someone else, sometimes walking around the room. That would feel confusing, right? Dogs feel the same way. During training, they pay attention to many things: your tone of voice, your body movements, where you're looking. If you're not focused, your dog will lose focus too. So when it's training time, try to remove distractions. Put your phone away for a moment. Choose a quiet time. Make the training session feel like a special moment between you and your dog. That way, it will be easier for them to understand what you're teaching. 3. Train in a spacious area during the first training sessions. Dogs are usually very active. They run, jump, explore every corner, and that's completely normal. To them, the world is full of exciting things. That's why it's important to choose a training area that's spacious enough. It could be inside a large room or in your yard. If you're training outside, make sure the area is safe and fenced. The goal is simple, so your dog can move freely without the risk of running away, and you can train more comfortably. 4. Say the command only. Once this is a mistake almost every dog owner has made. You say, "Sit, sit, come on, sit." But in reality, your dog already heard the first command. Repeating it over and over can actually teach them to ignore it, because they learned something important, that the command doesn't need to be followed right away. A better approach is simple. Say the command once, clearly, then give your dog a few seconds to respond. Consistency like this helps your dog understand that your words have meaning. 5. Use treats as rewards. One of the most effective ways to train a dog is through rewards, especially small treats. When your dog successfully follows a command, give them a treat, and don't forget to praise them. This combination is very powerful, because your dog's brain starts forming a simple connection, command to action to reward. But there's one important rule: the reward should only be given after the command is completed, not when they're begging, not when they're whining. Otherwise, they might learn the wrong behavior. 6. Train before mealtime. There's a simple trick that many professional dog trainers use: training before feeding time. Why? Because when dogs are slightly hungry, they're more motivated, they pay more attention, and they're more eager to follow instructions. Once training is finished, they receive their meal. This makes training feel like a natural part of their routine. 7. Take a walk if they get bored. Sometimes dogs lose interest during training, not because they're stubborn, but because they're bored, just like humans. Dogs need variety. If you notice your dog losing focus, try taking a short break. Take them for a walk. Let them smell new scents. Let them observe their surroundings. New experiences like this can refresh their mind. And after that, training usually becomes easier. 8. Don't feed them too late. Dogs actually love routines. If meals happen at the same time every day, they quickly adapt. Their bodies adjust to the schedule. But when feeding times constantly change, dogs can become restless. They're more easily distracted. Keeping a regular feeding schedule also helps them develop discipline. 9. Don't force training. When your dog isn't in the mood, there are days when your dog might seem low on energy. Maybe the weather is too hot. Maybe they're tired after playing. In situations like that, forcing a training session usually doesn't work. Your dog won't be able to focus, and you might end up feeling frustrated too. Sometimes the best option is simply letting them rest and continuing training later when they feel better. Or 10. Be patient and stay positive. Training a dog always comes back to one important thing: patience. Not every dog learns at the same speed. Some dogs understand commands within a few days. Others might take several weeks, and that's completely normal. What matters most is keeping the training atmosphere positive. Avoid scolding your dog when they make mistakes, because to them, being yelled at doesn't feel like learning. It feels confusing and frightening. Some studies even suggest that harsh training methods can make dogs more aggressive. On the other hand, training with praise, play, and small rewards is far more effective, because dogs learn best in an environment where they feel safe. Common questions about dog training. Now you might have a few questions in mind, especially if this is your first time owning a dog. And the truth is, these questions are very common. Why do dogs sometimes seem naughty? Sometimes dogs chew on furniture. Sometimes they run around the house ignoring commands. But in many cases, dogs aren't actually being naughty. They might just be bored, lonely, stressed, or simply looking for attention. Puppies are also naturally curious about the world. They chew on things not because they want to destroy them, but because they're exploring their environment. How long does it take for a dog to become obedient? Many dog trainers say that basic commands can often be learned in about 6 weeks. Of course, that's just an average estimate. If training is done consistently every day, some dogs can learn faster. But if training only happens occasionally, the process can take longer. The most important thing to remember is this: training isn't a race. What matters most isn't how fast your dog learns, but how consistently you guide them. What basic commands should dogs learn first? There are several basic commands every dog should learn. The first is recognizing their name, then the command sit. Next is stay, then down. There's also heel, which means walking calmly beside the owner. And finally come, which means returning when called. Once your dog understands these basic commands, learning other skills becomes much easier. A dog can sometimes feel exhausting, especially when you don't see results right away. But in reality, every training session is building something deeper. Your dog is learning to understand you, your voice, your body language, your habits. And the more you train together, the stronger that bond becomes. One day, you might notice something simple. You call their name just once, and they immediately run toward you. Not because they're afraid, but because they trust you. They know that listening to you is the right thing to do.